guest Allison Ramsey is with us, and she is the founder of Empire Life, which is empirelife.com, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
Empire Life Academy.
Empire Life Academy, thank you, .com. And so I'll let you tell some more detail, but what I have learned thus far is that your company guides entrepreneurs in scaling their online empires. So you help with
Yes.
step-by-step tech, lots of tech. So tell us more about your business overall.
Yes, thank you for having me, Kate. And it's always a pleasure speaking with you and how many things we resonate on. And happy to be here. Empire Life is a tech and digital marketing company. I'm also a software developer and college professor lately, or the last 3 years. I started Empire Life about 7 years ago now with the intention to provide the system, strategy, and structure primarily for female business owners to be able to scale their online businesses. When I was first starting, this is my third tech company, and when I was going about my first one, how do I create this impact online? I found that it was very limited resources that I felt like I had access to, and a lot of moving pieces, which I'm sure that all of you are experiencing as you're listening to this. Email marketing, your sales funnel, all your social media platforms. How do you keep all those moving pieces going? What do you need to be putting on all of them? How do they work together synergistically? It felt, I would say, completely overwhelming. And who do I actually ask? Who can mentor me or coach me in these things? Who's already done this before? And preferably, I really wanted to, when I first started, have a female mentor, and I found that almost impossible to find.
And
And
that was 7 years ago that it
that
was,
was the
yeah. Okay.
fast forward. That's really my highest intention, is to be
Mm.
that woman that other business women can turn to as in a mentor and coaching role, to say, I've done all of these things. I know how all of these fit together and the easiest possible flowing way, and where to focus your strategy and implement this to super scale to where you want to go. And scaling, of course, looks different for every woman listening to this. That might be, I
Yes.
want a little bit more free time, I want to delegate more. Some common themes that come up for my clients: I want a larger team. I need to know what to tell my teammate if I do hire this teammate. Well, first of all, who is the teammate that they're actually needing to hire, and what kind of questions do they answer or they ask, and then how do they want them to be answered for their teammate, and then how do they delegate to them? And delegating is, I feel like, also a spiritual mindset shift. That And how do they want to feel? Why do they want to scale their company, and how they want to feel as they're scaling it?
Yeah, I love it. You of course mentioned mindset shift because we've been talking a lot about that already today, and we'll definitely dive into that. I also love that you mentioned that every female entrepreneurs, and I experience this with my clients, like every one of our clients' empire or epic mom life, right? Like I call it, looks a little bit different. And that's okay. We all have a different version of what we want that end goal to be. So, I think at the core of all this is there is no one right answer, right? But
Hmm.
all of your experience, especially on the tech side, right? Because you clearly have that expertise and that skill set that I think a lot of women don't really, they're kind of afraid of.
Hmm.
And so, with that expertise, what would you say are some of the really important considerations for these moms I know we have in this group who, they want to be the badass CEO. They are ready, they're committed, but they're a little bit concerned with how to put all these pieces together. Like, what should they prioritize? So let's say they're maybe coming up to the 6-figure mark, or 50K is definitely on the horizon, or maybe they've surpassed that and they're really looking to like replace their corporate income with their business. what tech pieces should they be prioritizing?
They need to have more automations or systems in place. So that
Hmm.
definitely needs to be a priority. And I know that word, I've had a lot of pushback sometimes in different communities that we don't approve of automations. We don't like that. What I mean when I say that is systems that happen while you sleep.
Mm.
And I'll give
Hmm.
an example of that. It happened for me the other day. I have a free course on my website, and I now am a best-selling author as well.
Congrats.
Thank you. There was a lady, an incredible woman. She bought my book. She found my book through like one of my online platforms. She went and bought the book, and then she read some of my story. She went to my website, which is in the book, and she got the free course. Then she got enrolled in the email sequence, which is tied to ConvertKit on the back end.
Love
And
ConvertKit.
I love ConvertKit. And then she made a complimentary strategy session with me because she was offered that after the free course. And then we were on the complimentary strategy session. And nothing I did in
And
all
while you were sleeping.
while I was sleeping.
Yes.
I woke up to see the meeting, and I was like, wow, this is how it's supposed to work. This feels so good. This is what it's about.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
amazing.
the
Yeah.
only thing that I needed to look at then at that point was who is this woman? Who is this incredible woman that wants to have some time with me? And then I went and looked at her social media platforms so I could know who I was about to get on the call with. But all those other steps, like those 10 other steps that she went through and finding me and all, then making the appointment, all of those were already set up for her to be able
Yeah.
to go through. That's what I mean when I say automations. And I know those I also say that those are a little bit of a front loading kind of task. So it
Yes.
might feel that you're doing a lot of work up front at the beginning. But then if you can release that and it's flowing, that's what that's where the magic happens. I feel on the tech side. We can make these systems work for us and they're consistently working and like a flywheel or a well-oiled machine, and somebody comes in at the third step, or they they want to be a one-on-one client and they don't want the course, then there's another avenue for them to go down. I think to go back to the foundation of what are the different client pathways and really map if those are three different ones. I would say focus on 1 to 3 full client pathways, and
Yes.
everything that your ideal client is going to experience, let's say in those 1 to 3 pathways. What do they get? How much access do they get to you as the business owner? And what do you feel is comparable for the energy exchange in that? And really put yourself in the client's position. And if you're not able to do that, maybe grab a friend or someone who is your ideal client and say, I really want to ask you some questions. Can I get on like a 15-minute call with you and tell you what I do for a client and get your feedback on it and take them through the client journey? These are all the topics that we're going to cover, or am I forgetting something? Do you feel like this is a good price for me to charge for this? Is this something that you yourself would do? I'm not asking you to do it. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but would you do this? What feedback? And that takes a lot of vulnerability. When I first start working with clients or supporting them one on one, that is one of the first steps to get 10 to 20 people of their ideal clients feedback. It could be previous clients, or if they don't have the enough of those yet to ask, then they need to grab someone from one of their online communities and get vulnerable with them. But the first step is mapping out those client pathways, putting yourself in the user experience. How did they feel when they're going through the process? What might you be missing? And from there, the tech comes into that pathway of which
Mm,
emails do you want them to receive as they're going through this pathway? What bonuses, promotions? How can you just keep giving back to them, but in a way that once they get on that track, there's not much that you have to do. You're not manually that's how my brain works. So that's what I'm always thinking, like, how can I not manually do things as much as possible, because that's the way you can really scale. And let's say a client gets on an email sequence and they're getting an online course once a week. But once they're on that, you're not the one who has to send them that online course once a week or access to that or reminding them, and they get bonuses throughout the sequence, right? That
mm-hmm.
could be 50 people are on that sequence, and they're getting reminders. They know how to, if you have a like a one-on-one appointment with them within that package, they know how to do that with you. You think through everything that they might question and put those into the emails, into the messages. And maybe they're in a Facebook group where you're going live so many times a month, and they get the link in that email to that Facebook group. There's anything that you can think of that they may ask, which takes experience of knowing what the
Right.
Q&As are going to be. A
Mm-hmm.
beta test of it first, and then kind of gather those Q&As, put those into the emails. But when you start thinking within that way, another thing to focus on is what I do for one client, I need to be able to do for 50, or I need to be able to do for 10. I need to be able to do for 50. So if you think about it in that way of the scaling,
Mm-hmm.
you can have 50 people in a program on a certain email sequence within, they know the parameters of exactly how they're going to have access to you, where they need to go. Oh, that feels really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And I love what you said is that there's going to be some front loading work, right? So the the key is that the tech isn't going to be the solution. It's going to be the like connector of all these
Mhm.
pieces. But first, we have to come from the perspective of our clients, right? And understand what the pathway is that we're taking them on. And that takes a little bit of trial and error, right? That takes that initial manual or at a minimum research, like you said, to get inside their head. And what is the experience that we want them to have as we nurture them, right? On this journey toward a purchase of any kind, is that we have to think from their perspective. And so I liken it to, because we have a lot of clients who are moms, is that like if we didn't have certain clothes in certain drawers for our kids, right, from when they're little, or we didn't have a step by step, here's what we do to get ready in the morning to get out the door. And we just like it was a free for all every day, like figure it out, but we got to get out the door. But we didn't give them a step by step process and we didn't guide them through these steps and we gave them no structure. It would be very difficult for us to get them to do what we want, right? Which is just get out the door and go to school. So we have to create that structure. We have to create that framework and that system for
Mhm.
clients in the same way. We just don't want to like throw it at them and then cross our fingers. So there is a
Yeah.
lot of like putting some pieces in place and structure first before we're even ready to put the tech pieces, or expect the tech to solve it for us. And then some of that testing, like you said, a beta. So I love that
Yes,
you
and
addressed
I
that.
agree, and being open to feedback. Like for example, the first time I have a mastermind for really successful women to talk through all these things that we're talking about, and they get access to a few online courses, and then there's the group coaching calls. And the first time I ran that in 2018, I was really open. I think being vulnerable and open to feedback too of, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I didn't tell you XYZ." Because you think, I'm thinking about every possible thing. Even when you go through that, there's still maybe a few links that maybe you thought, "Oh, I thought I already told
Mm-hmm.
them and 3 emails back and I need to tell them again." I was gonna also reiterate that what to focus on social media is, don't feel like you're being salesy. People need to be told again and then told again and then told again. And it's the same thing when you have a program. You need to keep giving them the resources and the links, even if you feel like I already told them this in this other email, but they probably need it again, or they will be asking. So
There
be
are distractions pulling their
yes,
attention away at
exactly.
every touch point. So 100%. Yeah.
Mhm,
You know what I would love for you to talk about too, because as you're working with clients, right? And you're testing all of these pieces, there are going to be things that happen that come up that aren't done correctly, right? Like there are mistakes that are made along the way. There are things that like check boxes that we didn't quite cover. And this is something that for me has been one of those mindset shifts along the way, is that when we want to create massive results, we have to be willing to take massive action. And
mhm.
it's not always going to be an A plus, right?
Yes.
And so, from someone who always was a good student and recovering perfectionist, 100%, I talk about this a lot. So much of this fear of getting it wrong or like making a mistake would keep me from even putting things out there. And once I started to like get past that fear and just be like, this can be fun and it may not be perfect the first time, but I'm going to put it out there. That's when the massive growth actually started to happen. So can you speak to a little bit of like what happens for a lot of your clients as they're like getting to these next levels and they're maybe have fear of like, what it's going to be like if there's a mistake or a link doesn't work or something like that.
Yes, I am a recovering perfectionist myself and like straight A student and super ambitious. I have learned, I agree with you on the magic happens when we say, let's see how this goes. Like I know I can do this. I know I have the skills or the resources or the people on my team that I can rely on and delegate to. Let's do this. Like we're doing it and really calling it into action. I am, or in our affirmations, like I am a successful business owner, or I have money flow to me easily. Money flows in easily. Like really calling that, owning it first of all. And I've seen huge transformations with my clients. Well, as I own it myself, right? First starts with us allowing that space for ourselves. And I'll give one. I have a testimonial on my website of one of my clients recently. She was already a six-figure earner when she came to have us support her, but she was really resistant or hesitant to start an online community. She said, I'm worried about having consistent leads for the duration of my business. So we reach, like you had said on my live, sometimes we reach a limit within how much we can do. Oh, we needed to look at scaling her team. Well, I am her mentor, her business coach and mentor for her amazing company that she's running, and looking at how can she delegate better, what areas does she need to maybe hire out, bring in more people, and how can we actually build this online community? But where did we need to start? We needed to start. Who is the woman, or do you want it to be women and men? She decided she wanted it to be all women, which felt really vulnerable. Also for me to make that proclamation to the world. So first of all, I was like, okay, it's going to be all women. Well, what's kind of the age group that you want this woman? Like really getting clear about who is that avatar of who's going to be in your online community. And when she opened it, and then what's the mission and vision? What's the intention that you're putting into the world of what now these women are going to receive in your group? And I think there was 500 women in within the first month. And within the first 2 weeks that she opened her Facebook group, she had a new client from the community that signed a $12,000 contract with her.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
there was yeah, it was incredible. But looking at I have seen, even for people that are very successful like her, and she had experienced a lot of success already in her business, but there's so much resistance on, what if people don't join my group? What am I going to say every day? How am I going to handle that? How am I going to hold that container for all these incredible women? What do I tell my team to say on daily post? And now I saw her team, they designed like an intro video for her to do a live. She does a daily live show now within her Facebook group. They have daily prompts. Like we had given her the structure of it. She's like completely ran with it and then added in her own uniqueness in all of these things within the group, and it's taking off and it's incredible. It was
That's
like,
so great.
what
And
if we thought it's, I don't know what to say, I'm not going to do it. Right?
right. And let that fear of like, not getting it right or rejection
Mhm.
and self-doubt get in the way. And so many entrepreneurs it's enough of a reason for them to give up or hide even, and not put it out there. So I thank you for covering that. I would love to get even more personal with you. And I know we're both single moms. We kind of talked a little bit about that in the live in your group, but I would love for you to talk about what it's been like for you to step into that role as a mom, right? Like we are nurturers and we're caregivers, but to also tap into that other energy, which is like, I am going to set these goals. I am going to create a financial plan for myself and for the life that I want to live. And be willing to take this massive action to grow my business, right? To get uncomfortable. But like balancing the two, right? Between being a mom and what that has had what it's involved for you to not only be a mom to your daughter, but to grow this, empire for yourself. Like what do you feel like has been the greatest, I guess, opportunity for your growth along the way, like the greatest transformation that you've experienced?
A few things, I love this question. A few things that are coming to mind is deciding how I want to feel every day.
Ooh, I got goosebumps. I love that. I didn't expect that answer for you, but I love it. Go ahead. Tell us more.
That's the first one for
Yeah.
me.
Okay.
And having, if not to make it overly complicated, like I try to focus on 1 to 2 core feelings that I like to feel. So one of mine is affluency, and
Mm.
feeling within affluency, that means I'm taken care of, I'm protected, I cherish myself, I cherish everything that I've worked for and everything that I have in this moment. I express gratitude every day, and feeling affluent can mean I take the time to make myself a matcha or a coffee that's really good. Like I buy high quality, I bought one, or I make it myself, or I go out and I walk to a cafe and I have the ritual of investing in that cup of matcha. To me, so that's like a really little thing on a little scale that I can do every day that then reinstills that core desired feeling that I want. So that's the first one, and not letting anything get in the way of that,
Mm.
right? The boundaries. The second I would say is getting clear on what my true strengths are and what my weaknesses, what some of my areas that I have blind spots, admitting those. How can I have a teammate who doesn't have those blind spots and is better at it? Or maybe I don't enjoy doing certain things. I'll give or even within my house of how I'm running that. I'll give an example. I I feel like when I do all the dishes or taking a lot of time to do the dishes, I could be doing a lot of other things. My daughter and I share doing the dishes. She's a teenager now. When let's say she's about 6 or 7, I started teaching her how to empty the dishwasher, and she was not good at it at all. I'll be
Just not
honest.
just not the sharp knives, right?
Yeah, not the sharp
I
knives.
do the same thing.
I usually hand wash the knives and then dry them. I'm pretty
Mm.
like particular about about
Yeah.
the knives, but and because I love to cook, so I always want to have sharp knives. And yeah, teaching her how to use the knives. I took her to a little cooking class of knife skills when she was really little, and educating her about why not to touch them, and
Mm-hmm.
all those things about the knives too. But I remember when she first emptied the dishwasher, she was putting, you know, all the things on top of each other and not knowing where to put them up. So like the first step was, how do you stack all of them? And then the next, that took a while, or at least a few months. And then how do you put them all up in the cabinet? And at this point, when when she has her dishes day, which is every other day we share throughout the week, she empties the dishwasher. So first she has to put away all the clean dishes. And then she hand washes or refills the dishwasher. And then she cleans all the countertops and makes sure that all the countertops are clean in the kitchen. And then she cleans the sink area. Well, that's taken a while to get there. But for me, when I'm doing that, if I was doing that every day, I start to feel like, why isn't anybody helping me? Why am I the only one who seems to care about a clean kitchen? And that leads to a lot of frustration and some resentment, when I know that I could be communicating transparently with her. And there's times when she communicates transparently with me too, and says, I have all of this homework, and can I have an IOU, and you do the dishes 2 or 3 days in a row? And I'm like, of course. Or we're not feeling well, and we just communicate that with each other and are there to support one another. It doesn't mean it's that rigid, but we know that we're there to support each other with these things that are going on, and the house has to be managed and kept up with. But I think a lot of us, we may, same thing with hiring a team. This leads back into business or delegating. We may put that off or have some resistance to it because we think no one's going to do it as well as us.
Right. The control.
The
Yeah.
control. And
Mhm.
that leads us back into the perfectionism. I needed to be comfortable with, and the same thing for my team, of someone doing it. If they do it 70% as well as I might do it, I need to be happy with that.
I love
Because,
that. Yeah.
yeah, but like setting some realistic expectations for our kids and our team, and then understanding it will improve. And a lot of it has to do with our patience,
Hmm.
how we're communicating with them, and the transparency of how it will improve.
And it helps if we have realistic expectations for ourselves to start, right? Because if we're expecting ourselves to do everything 100% perfectly, it's going to be a lot harder for us to be okay with 70% from someone else. But this is how we make change. This is how we create new results in our lives, is like giving a little bit of flexibility. And I just love those things that you covered, right? Like, how do I want to feel? And these tiny little things that change the way that you feel, it's really supportive of what I call, right, this like future self concept. It's this self concept of you at this next level as this CEO mom, whatever that next level is for any of us. But enjoying those little things, for me, it's actually luxury sheets. So I have some really, really nice sheets, and my bedroom is like my sacred space. So it's just how I want it. My kids don't play in there. I take a lot of pride in that, just like your
Yes.
coffee, right? But just like these little ways that we can treat ourselves, and it doesn't have to be big, but just like that enjoyment factor. And we get to decide like what it is. For someone it might be a bath, or a certain skincare routine, or whatever it is, but like whatever makes you feel luxurious, and then incorporating that into your routine, it makes a huge difference. So I love that. And then I talk a lot about outsourcing. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. Delegating, right, to our kids,
Mhm.
but also the way that we respect our own time, and the way that we view our time and our energy. And I have house cleaners that come. They don't come like every week, but it's a better use of my time to outsource certain things like that,
Mhm.
where instead of me spending hours doing it, but it's just a different way of valuing our time and our energy and getting resourceful, right?
Yes.
My 5-year-old loves to Swiffer the floor. So for now, as long as she loves doing it, like she does that every other weekend when we're, and we, we each have a little task that we do. And for 30 minutes, we do a little bit of tidying up and they love it. And it doesn't leave me feeling resentment that, well, I'm the only one who can do this. Like we work as
Mm-hmm.
a team. It's like me and my two sidekicks. And there's so much value in getting resourceful in our lives,
There
our
is.
personal
And
lives.
another thing that was coming to mind that I feel like I should mention is not being too hard on yourself with needing to do all the things as a mom. Like I had mentioned to you that I know I'm not great at decorating or like party planning. I'm not good at it.
Me neither.
That's a limit. But there's other women in my
Mhm.
family that are incredible at it. So I can ask them, "Hey,
Yes.
would you mind to come over a little bit more early? You
Yes.
know, I'm not good at this. I don't know where to put streamers or where to put balloons or any of that." So
Yes.
I'm told, like, just admitting, being vulnerable, and admitting that to some other women, and as we do that, it's like a no-brainer. Then moving forward, I don't even need to say that anymore. They're like, "Oh, hey, can I come over a little bit more early?" Because they find joy in it.
And you know what I love about that is that your
Oh,
daughter gets to see you receiving
mhm.
and not just giving, 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 doing, and like feeling exhausted and wiped out and doing something you don't enjoy. It's this
That's
like,
true.
because it's like that feminine energy, the woo side a little bit, but like, and what we have to do to welcome abundance, right? And to practice that mindset is like we have to be willing to receive. And so many moms, it's like we start out with just feeling like we have to do it all and we don't ask for help.
Mm,
And even
mm.
if we do, we don't even receive the help very well,
Oh,
right?
it's so true.
So
Yes.
practicing that
Mhm.
is really, it's been a big shift for me. I just was
Yes.
telling you how I went on vacation and I practiced that more than I ever have taking a trip like that, and it felt so like I can't even, like, renewing to me.
Mm.
So yeah, I think we can use that in every day of our lives, even birthday parties. So,
Yes, there was another example I felt called to share too recently. Well, sleepovers just started happening again.
mhm.
This COVID is getting better,
Yeah.
or like things are opening up more. So I allowed her to have a sleepover with two other little girls and well, teenagers now. And
Mhm.
like, okay, we have to figure out where they're gonna sleep, and I need you to be creative about who's going to sleep where and talk to them about it. Like that's your thing now. And then
Mm.
also something that really I was very transparent with her. It's like something that kind of stresses me out after I love having your friends over. And I love that you guys are pretty much self-contained and do your own thing. And I can even a lot of times get some work done or get a few things done and be in my room or maybe watch my favorite show. Or I have some me time even because they're older
Mhm.
now. But something that stresses me out is there seems like there's a lot of dishes after your friends leave. And the whole kitchen because they're eating meals there, right? And
Mhm.
cups and plates and oh, what do you feel about that? Do you feel that I need to be the one who does all of them after they leave because I'm the one hosting your friends here? Or what would you feel like would make me feel more compelled to say yes to hosting the sleepover?
Mm, great question. Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, I got it. I got it. I'll do all of them."
And you totally put the ball in her court
Mm.
and she made that decision. That's so empowering for her too. And you know what that shows me is that she is reciprocating what you've given to her, and you guys work as a team, and she's like very willing to easily reciprocate that. That's incredible. I mean, and I know we talked a little bit before, we're kind of running down on a low on time, but about how you've set this example as a business owner and you're now starting, like, bringing her in to opportunities in your business. And that's amazing, and that she wants to, right? Because she probably
It's
is
her
proud
her
of.
idea. Yes,
Oh
her
my
idea
gosh,
about
that's
a year and a
awesome.
half ago. She said, I'm ready to start supporting you and your business, and how much, like, if you would like to pay me or what, or train me at first and maybe not pay me as much, and then as I learn how to do things and you can pay me. And even some of her friends want to do some things too for my business, because that's a way that they can make a little extra spending money when they're walking around together and want some chips and a coke or chips and a drink. They How are they going to get that money? I really want her to, she has her own bank account now too, so I want her to understand how that feels to be spending her own money, how
Yes.
far it goes, and what that feels like to receive it and then decide how she wants to spend it. So when she starts getting lower on money, she gets really motivated to make a little bit more money in her account.
She's going to be telling the story of her mom as a business owner and how she watched you grow your business and make all these powerful decisions for so many years. And what you're teaching her is just so invaluable. It's You're such a great example of that. And mine being young, just to hear you share that, I shared with you before, is there's a lot of power in that.
Yes,
It's
I feel there's a lot of power in it being her idea as well.
Yeah.
I didn't want her to feel any pressure that she had to help me in my business. Oh, it was beautiful to hear that she wanted to. And like,
Mhm.
how can I support you? I asked her a few times, "Hey, would you mind doing this and that? Like, can you do this on the phone if you have a little bit of free time?" But if there was a lot of resistance, it's like, okay, I want you to be doing it with joy and feel motivated to do it. Just like we would rather our employees or teammates feel that they're in their expertise and that's something that they're good at. So for her to try to find, okay, I'm really good at this, and this is really the areas that I would like to support you. Do you have something like that with a client that I can support on? And I did, and making that fit together with her, that flows a lot when we are in our expertise, in our strengths.
Yes. Oh, that's so great. Oh, I love it. And there's just so many takeaways from that. But so please share with our moms here in the group where they can get in touch with you. And you have a podcast as well. So tell them the best way to find you.
Yes. Well, it's empirelifeacademy.com, and you'll see when you go on the menu, there's the podcast, the best-selling book is there too. We recently put all of the podcast videos on the website, so that there's like tons of for the last 4 years, there's tons of free content and hearing from experts in their field. And we're also on Spotify and iTunes for the Empire Life podcast. We have an amazing blog too, tons of articles and resources if you want to publish a book or have more in-depth personal development kind of stories and hearing from women just like you and their journeys. There's so much valuable content there.
Oh my gosh. And we know you have all the tech pieces sorted out. So I love it. So
Yes.
yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experience and your journey and just the awesome takeaways. I know it's been helpful to other CEO moms here.
Aw.
So, Allison, it has been great to connect with you again. I am certain there are going to be lots more opportunities. So, we will be in touch. But thanks again for being here.
Thank you too, Kate.